Good evening, it's 8:45pm on Monday the 11th of September 2017 and this is the Cat's Whiskers podcast live. Hello and welcome to this week's Weekend Review Cat's Whiskers podcast. My name is John A. Bullard. Got a big show for you as always, looking back at Panthers games over the weekend and the rest of the Elite League and other hockey news that happened over the last few days or so. Delighted to say that with me tonight are Adam Reddish.
Good evening, everybody.
Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Hello.
Tina Taylor.
Hiya.
And Andy Haywood will be here. I believe he's got charging issues with his with his equipment, so he will be joining us as soon as he can. So he will be with us very, very shortly. So we will start off by looking back at Panthers games over the weekend, starting on Saturday night, the 9th of September, a home game against the Coventry Blaze in the Elite League. Panthers coming away with a 4-3 victory. Panthers goals from Mark Delago. Thanks for correcting me on that, Tina. Brett Bellini with 2 and Tim Billingsley with a short-handed effort. Blaze goals coming from Wojciech Klos, Edgar Berbris and Jordan Petrus. And Adam, I'll start with you. Panthers really cruised for the first 2 periods of that game, but then had a very, very dodgy third.
Yeah, they did have a dodgy third. You know, it was a strange game. I thought that 40 minutes, you know, we obviously gave it some in the second period and we sort of applied maximum pressure and had a really good 5-10 minutes or so. And, you know, that stretched the score out. But I just felt that, you know, the team sort of slipped into a bit of a complacent mode in that third period. I think that they might have underestimated Coventry. And fair play to Coventry, you know, they kept at it and they stuck at it, and you know they made the game bloody close in the end, much closer than I would have liked. But it was a strange performance because I thought that, you know, when we were going at it in the second period and, you know, we scored those goals in quick succession, that, you know, we might have run the scoreboard up a little bit and, you know, gone 7-8. But got back in the third and. I'm not quite sure whether it was our complacency or Coventry just, you know, sticking at it and, you know, doing really well to come back into the game and nearly take something out at the end of the 60 minutes.
I mean, that's a fair point that Adam makes about Coventry. Do you think, like he says, we probably did underestimate them a little bit?
I think it was a little bit, probably. I certainly did. Based on our predictions that we did last week, I predicted Coventry to struggle this year. They definitely showed some character, and you know, considering I think we talked about it in the bookers after the game, there was that spell in the second period where we scored those 3 quick goals and they couldn't handle us. They never let their heads drop. A previous Coventry team we would have finished that game 10-1. The credit to the Blaze. They stuck at it, and then they made a game of it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Tina, that was it. Coventry made a game of it, but there was that period in the second period. I've done it again, where Panthers scored 3 very, very quick goals, and it looked like it was almost as if someone had flicked a switch. We thought, right, we're going to take this seriously. Take the game away from the Blaze, and that's what they did. And to be fair to Panthers, they always looked like they had that in the locker.
Yeah, they always looked like they had it in the locker, but good God, was the third period squeaky bum. You know, when they started getting the goals back, you know, we're all sort of, you know, we're looking around each other where I sit and we're going, what? What's going on? It was odd. Yeah, we just had, you know, that sort of 10-minute spell there or thereabouts where it was just, you know, we were relentless and we went and attacked them, and they like Anne says, they just couldn't handle us. So yeah, and then to just switch off like we did, it was a little bit. I mean, as I said on the podcast that we did after that game, I half expected it. The whole sort of Euro hangover, if you will. But I was a bit disappointed that's what we saw. Blaze came out and tried to not attack us, I suppose. Sort of really attack the game, and we sort of. I don't know. At times it felt like we were sort of sitting back and sussing them out, and then like you say, switch flicked, off we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And which goals do you want to pick out? Because I actually, I haven't even watched the highlights back. I actually thought Jordan Petrus's power play goal, Coventry's third, was an absolute beauty. So, which goals do you want to pick out from both sides? And we'll start with you.
I'm sticking with Billingsley's short-handed rocket.
Yeah, that was an excellent.
absolute ripper.
Yeah,
I think the thing about
I agree with that.
Billingsley's goal, it was just so unexpected. He's going down the ice, and I think a lot of people internally were just going, go on, have a go, and he did, and he went in. It's like brilliant, yeah, fine. We're mentally, those of us that don't shoot all the time, internally, I think we were going, yeah, go on, shoot, and he did, brill.
I think the thing with Billingsley's goal, and it was another thing that became apparent from the highlights. He's on the night. I thought, could the netminder have done better with that? And then when you actually watched it on the highlights, it was an absolute laser of a shot. There was no way he would have got anywhere near it. So I think, yeah, fair play to Billingsley. Excellent goal. Adam, your pick?
Oh, Billingsley, yeah. Undoubtedly the best for me. It's just absolute perfect placement, wasn't it? And I remember seeing it live. I've not had the benefit of looking at the highlights, so I've not really analysed the finish that much. So I'm just working from memory of what I saw on the night. But I just thought, wow, not many netminders would have saved that. You would really have had to had almost an NHL-esque level of netminder to do anything about that shot at all. I think it would have gone in on about 95% of netminders. So yeah. Very unexpected, but very welcome.
And Tina, are you going to stick with Billingsley?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. As I say, I leapt up from my seat when that went in, and yeah, I think it sort of had similarities to when Jeff Brown put that third goal in against Byrne, because you just didn't see it coming. You want your forwards to get those kind of goals, and he did. But this came from a defenseman, and yeah, brill. I'm absolutely sticking with that one.
Fair enough. Andy is just about to join us, I think. So if I can get him on very, very quickly, I will get his thoughts on the Coventry game. I suppose one of the things from that game is very well worked goals from the Panthers, and I'm thinking Pellini's power play goal that was worked to the back post for him just to tap in was another very nice goal. Anyone?
Yes.
I think you've said it all there, John. It was a very well worked goal.
I think you might have to excuse like 2/5 of the present company, because we'd kind of had a few drinks.
I was fine Sunday morning. I don't know what's wrong with you lightweights. Right, I'm delighted to say that joining us now is Andy Haywood. Good evening, Andy.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Andy.
Just at the end, we'll get your thoughts as well. So, Coventry, just your sort of summarisation of that game.
Well, I think it was all right, wasn't it? Really. I think we weren't great. I think they weren't great. I think there's plenty to work on, and you could tell that it was a game that was slower than what we'd been playing in. We didn't really adapt well to that, and that's something that we're going to have to do better at, basically. But we got the 2 points, and really that's all that I care about.
Okay. If you want to get your thoughts into us tonight, you can do. Best way is via Twitter at Cat's Whiskers TV. Let us know your thoughts. What was the pick of the goals for you? What are your thoughts on the weekend performances? Just send them in and we will try our very best to read them out as the show goes on. We will move on to Sunday night, the 10th of September, a Challenge Cup game in Sheffield at the Sheffield Arena against our nearest and dearest, the Sheffield Steelers. A game that the Steelers won 6-5. Defences were certainly optional in this one. And the goals for Panthers from Robert Farmer, Jan Sauve, Mark Delego, Brett Polini and Alexander Mokshantev. Steelers goals coming from Robert Dowd, Ben O'Connor, Jonas Westerling, John Armstrong, new signing Juha Koivisto, and a final second goal from Levi Nelson, which broke Panthers' hearts. Andy, Tina, Adam, you all watched this one on the webcast. And I suppose the first agenda point is just complete madness at Sheffield Arena. Tina, you can have that one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My time was full as we went along the game of defence is optional. Going forward, I think both teams had, they had some absolute, determination. The goals were, going in here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, defence. What's that, Anne? No idea. I mean, it wasn't just. I'm not talking about the defenders. I'm talking about there were just daft plays defensively in defensive zones. One that springs to mind. I think it was there either Sheffield second or third. I mean. Phillips finds himself with the puck in front of the net and he's trying to clear it and he just passes it straight to Bennett and it's just like O'Connor just rips it straight in and it was just we're just getting really excited about going 3 goals up in Sheffield. I mean, who would have thought that we would have been that had that good a start, and then it just seemed to, just kind of collapse a little bit in terms of the Panthers. But then, Steelers were still letting us in, and the way Sauve just sort of snuck in while everybody, you've got 5 Steelers watching the puck, and Sauve just comes in from nowhere and just bangs the first goal in. Brilliant. I think he's done. We've seen him do that a couple of times already this, in pre-season and such. And Delego, when he just goes through the middle, just takes the direct route, goes through the middle, scores past Mustakovs. Nothing that he could have done. Nothing that he did. He didn't. He just. Delego gets it through the tiniest of cracks. Brilliant. So
I'm going to disagree with that, because I think there is no way that any netminder should have let that goal in. Any netminder. Because it was at his near post. It is outrageous that Delego managed to score from there, and I think that is solely on the netminder.
Well, it's outrageous, and fortunately, it was outrageous for us. Not that it really counted for anything in the grand scheme of things, because the Steelers played for 60 minutes and we played for about 59 minutes and 55 seconds, and unfortunately, that was enough for them to sneak in.
Yeah. Andy, should we be concerned that we let a 3-goal lead slip?
Yes and no. I think yes, because obviously it's not a realistically we've got the players, we've got the quality that we shouldn't be losing that kind of lead. That being said, I think realistically you've got to say that and it's no slight on Sam Gospel whatsoever, but we had our backup netminder in and they had their starter, which is completely fine. It's their prerogative. I also think as well that we're a team is still learning who everybody is. You think to the other teams in the Elite League, the majority of them have sort of played the odd games against each other. They've already played against people that they know, either from former leagues or former teammates and that sort of stuff in pre-season. Whereas obviously I know we had the Cardiff and Braid games, but they were they seem so long ago now because of the CHL, that I still think it's going to take a bit of time for us to sort of get our own groove going in the Elite League. And I think this weekend kind of summed it up really, because, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we weren't great against Coventry, but you get the win. And then we looked fantastic for the first sort of 15 minutes or so. And then, you know, the game itself just sort of went completely, you know, to pot in a sort of, in a hockey style of thing, you know, with teams just scoring for fun. So I think, yes, it's slightly concerning, but I do think it's something that is easily rectifiable. I do think it's something that could be easily worked on by the team, and I still think that, you know, realistically, if you were to tell me that we were only going to get one win this weekend, I would have wanted it to be the way around it was. Obviously, to lose with 1 second to go is you know, good. But you credit to Nelson, because it was a fantastic goal.
I mean, Adam, we've said Panthers excellent going forward, got that three goal lead, but the defence were poor last night. There's no other way of putting it. They were poor, and that's actually quite surprising considering some of the performances that we've already had this season. I'm thinking especially in the CHL. Is that how you felt as well? Was it a surprise to see the defence play so bad?
Well, I think they were put under a lot more pressure than teams that we played in the CHL have maybe put us under pressure, and it was a different sort of pressure. You know, Sheffield were quite direct. You know, they were quick to get the pucks into our zone, whereas, you know, CHL teams are a bit more methodical and it takes them a bit more time, you know, because the passing is a bit more intricate, whereas Sheffield, I think, were a bit more direct. And, you know, some of our defencemen struggled, but it wasn't always our defencemen that were, you know, messing up. As Tina said, you know, Phillips makes an absolutely inexplicable play and just, you know, puts the puck on the end of Ben O'Connor's stick, you know, for one of their goals. So I think it's team defence more than the actual defenders on the roster that maybe need a little bit of work and a bit more coaching from Nielsen and Strachan. I mean, am I concerned about that? Well, as Andy said, you know, it's never ideal to lose, and you don't want to lose games. You want to win everything if possible, even though that's unrealistic. I do think it was possibly a bit of one of those anomaly games where, you know, the teams just go out there and they just go at each other, and odd things happen in those sorts of games, and people do make strange, inexplicable errors. And, you know, unfortunately, we made a few too many last night, and, you know, Sheffield capitalised when we did make those mistakes. So I don't think I'm too sort of downbeat about it, because I think that as the season goes on, you know, we will get stronger defensively. I think we're a very, very offensively minded team, and I think that that's where the balance is. I think we probably do have a better offensive team than defence, but you know, when we play more games and the defensive pairs, you know, understand each other's games a bit more in the domestic scene, I think that we'll be okay at the back.
Few things I've seen online today, mainly surrounding Sam Gospel being given the start in the net. I personally think it was a fine decision to start him in the net. He needs game time. It looks like he is going to be the backup this season, and I think starting in the Challenge Cup games, and especially where he would be under a bit of pressure and there'd be a hell of an atmosphere, I think it was the right thing to start him. I've seen comments online where they're saying that perhaps Garnett should have started, and if so, we may have won the game. Very, very quickly, and I'll go around all of you. Do you think that is fair? Personally, I don't. I think Gospel should have been given the start. So, Ant, what are your thoughts?
I'm quite happy that Gospel got the start, to be honest. I wasn't overly concerned when I saw that he had done. So no, for me, we don't want to be in that situation that we were in last year when poor old Greener came in completely cold because he'd not hardly had a game. So if we can get Gospel some game time, some play time in games that, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, yes, it's never nice to lose to them lot, but in the grand scheme of things, that's game one of our Challenge Cup group we've got other games to come. I still think we'll qualify.
Andy?
I have no problem with Gospel starting Challenge Cup games whatsoever. He's already proved it in the ice time that he's seen, not just this season, but in other games in both the Elite League and the EPL, that he's a decent netminder and can make some good saves. So I have no issue with it whatsoever.
Tina?
Sorry, my apologies. I'm still here. Don't worry, I haven't gone anywhere. This is why I don't present while you're here. I think I said it during the one of our summer podcasts that why not? But because like Ant just said, you do not want to be in the situation where he's seeing 0 game time and you have to bring him in to a point where Garnett is tired, he's got injured, or he's been injured. You don't want to do that. So I was absolutely delighted to see him make the start. I don't think he had a bad game, and you cannot at any point say if Garnett was in, we would have won the game. I'm not having that. I refuse to believe that. I think Gospel had just as much opportunity, and was the team around him gave him just as much opportunity to lose that game as they probably would have given to Michael Garnett. So no, I should Gospel have started? Yes, 100 times yes, absolutely. Definitely the right things to do. Very glad that we're managing, that we're going intent to manage our netminders properly.
Okay. Finally, Adam?
Yeah, I agree with everything that everyone said so far. I mean, Garnett's 34, which, for a netminder is getting on a bit. It's advancing in years. So I think we need to be a bit selective about when we let him play. But, Gospel's got pedigree. And, we've all seen him do well in previous games. And, I think the biggest sort of endorsement I can give Gospel last night is that, of the 2 netminders that started, did Gospel look any worse than Mustakovs? In my opinion, not at all. I think there might have been one goal that Gospel might want back. But, other than that, he looked really competent. He looked sound. I never had any sort of, heart in mouth moments. He's a capable netminder. So, I think to keep Garnett fresh over the course of the season, then, what's wrong with dropping Gospel in for the odd game? Because, it gives Gospel experience and it keeps Garnett fresh. So, yeah, no qualms with the decision at all from me.
Okay. And the final wrap-up on the weekend. Is this a bad result in the grand scheme of things? Just very quickly, I'll come to all of you again. Ant?
I've already said I don't like losing to anybody, but I don't like losing to them. But on the grand scheme of things, no.
Okay. Andy?
Nope.
Adam?
Absolutely not.
And finally, Tina?
The only thing I would say about it is it depends what we do with the rest of our Challenge Cup groups, and it depends, what we take away from that, and how we learn from it, and what we, how we attack the game next time.
Okay, fair enough. Few tweets of yours that we'll go through. Gareth has got in touch while we've been on air. He says, my favourite goal was Sauvé last night. Not just the goal, but his celebration on the boards right in front of me. Fair enough. Yeah. A couple of tweets that we've had during the day. Lee Constable says, a come down compared to the CHL. We had flashes of brilliance in both games. Surprisingly, our defence totally let us down in Sheffield. Looking at the positives though, 1 win in the league. I fancy us to beat Sheffield at home in the return Challenge Cup game, and Gospel played well, I thought. Panthers Daily also got in touch. He says, offence looks very strong and we look dangerous on the break. Defence absolutely atrocious, full of mistakes. I think it's only really that one game, but yeah, I think if it carries on, it'll become concerning. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Next week is a very fresh week. Okay, we've got some stats from the weekend as well. So, Tina, over to you.
Yes, I shall kick off with some stats that David Carnell's very kindly sent in. I think he had a sabbatical last year, but the previous year he was also doing plus minus, taking the time out to record this himself. And David has very kindly sent these in to us again, so thank you very much to you, David. Just a couple that I was going to pick out. Much of a much terms of Saturday's game. You've got a few ones, zeros, and a couple of minus ones here and there. Sunday, a little bit more of a broader picture. Highlights from that being Brett Pellini at a +2, Robert Farmer at a +2, and also we've got Sauvé, Billingsley, and Schaller all at a +1 as well. So overall on the weekend, the highlight of that is Brett Pellini at a +3 and Robert Farmer at a +3. A few sort of smatterings here and there. I mean, it's early on in the season, so that's going to get much more interesting and much more varied, I suspect, as we go along. So, again, thank you very much, and please do continue to send them in. I'm sure you're going to do a lot better job of recording them than I did. So, I'll leave it to the expert. Just a few things that I just sort of recorded from our games this weekend. Schaller has ended up as our top point scorer as I read off the Elite League game sheets. Schaller with 0 + 4, 3 assists going to him on Sunday. Pellini with 3 goals this weekend, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday. Billingsley as a 1 + 2, thanks to his short-handed effort on Saturday, and Delego 2 + 0, 1 on each day. A few sort of smatterings here and there. I mean, the points are going to start to get interesting as we go along. One thing I did notice is that I've got a list of who our point scorers were this weekend. It is quite a concentrated list. They all did seem to come from the same people. So hopefully we'll get a few of our sort of third, fourth lines getting in on the points later on in the season, but we've got a nice healthy start to it. Just one other thing that I was going to mention, our special teams this weekend against the Coventry Blaze, we have a power play percentage of 14.3 and a penalty kill percentage of 75. So muchness at the moment. Not really worth me going into massive detail about the penalties on Sunday.
There's only 4 minutes of penalties for
Two penalties per team, and nobody scored on either of them. One thing I do just want to mention, though, in just talking about that, I mean, disagree with me if you like, chaps, but the refereeing on Sunday, that just flowed. Sometimes you sort of think, oh, that incident might have been, or that, that could have been a penalty, and that was surely a penalty. How did the referee miss it? Nah. None of that for me. I was watching the webcast, and I never once at any point did I say anything about penalties that could have been, should have been, shouldn't have been, I think the officials had a really good game on Sunday particularly. So anybody else that watched the webcast, if you want to disagree with me, then please do so. But it felt like a game that just flowed, and although it wasn't the best game to watch in terms of the defensive display, it was it was a game that the players decided.
I didn't see the webcast, so I can't really comment on the refereeing. But Adam, Andy, if you want to chip in.
Yeah, I think Tina made a good point there. Didn't really notice the officials last night. I think that the players played a clean game. Can't really remember any incidents during the game where you think, oof, that was an absolute nailed-on penalty, or someone took a penalty when they didn't really deserve to be sent to the box. So, credit to the referees and the linesmen, because I think they did a good job last night.
Andy, anything to add?
No.
Okay. Another tweet we've had come in from Kim Harris. She says, I think I think a great defence comes from teamwork. It's early days, we have a way to go, but all the people are in place. Supporters have a massive role to play in performance, but the clue's in the name, supporters. And Sam Gospel did a great job. Well, yeah, supporters do have a massive role to play, I agree with that, but it also means that we also have a right to criticise if we think things aren't going well. That's part and parcel of the whole thing. It doesn't mean we don't support the club any less, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, anybody, anything else to say on that?
I think I think the team and the supporters feed off each other. So I think both parties have a role to play, and they have, you know, responsibilities in terms of, you know, making that atmosphere and, you know, having that atmosphere available, and you know, us, you know, cliche ding ding, having that being that sixth man on the ice, kind of, you know, that's, you know, being the extra skater on the ice, as it were.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we've seen some individual mistakes over the course of the weekend, and I think you hit the nail on the head quite well, Jono, earlier when you mentioned that it probably was just a blip. Well, we all hope it's just a blip, and that, you know, things will settle down and we'll have a more solid defence, you know, through the Elite League campaign this season. But, you know, you can have the best atmosphere in the world and you can get almost unconditional support, but you can't legislate for an individual error. So you just hope that they're minimised and we play, you know, a more sound and stronger defensive game, you know, and try and minimise those mistakes. But yeah, I think that, you know, if it becomes more of a regular thing and certain players are making these lapses, you know, costing us because they're giving goals away, or, you know, making bad passes or bad plays that lead to goals from the opposition, then you know, I think that fans have got every right to, you know, pick that up and you know, maybe voice their frustrations a little bit.
Okay. We shall move on, and thanks for getting in touch, Kim. You can do too at Cats Whiskers TV on Twitter if you would like to get in touch during what we've got left of the show. But it's Player of the Week time, so the Cats Whiskers Player of the Week. And I must admit, I was quite surprised when I saw this one, so I won't reveal anything else. But in third place, here's the drum roll, Jan Sauvé. In second place, here's the drum roll again, is Brett Pellini. And now, I honestly thought he would be in first place, personally. But in first place, Player of the Week is once again Alexander Mokshantev for the second week on the trot. So congratulations once again to Alexander Mokshantev, TCW Player of the Week for the second week running. I must admit, I was surprised. I did think Brett Pellini might take that with his 3 goals. Anyone else?
Pellini was my vote for the weekend, but the Mock had another great weekend and topped it up with a pretty special goal yesterday.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think we had a few candidates, but yeah, I think that goal, and we all know which goal that we're talking about. That goal, I think, as you know, I think a moment like that really does stick in people's minds, and yeah, I think that brought him to everybody's attention all over again.
Fair enough. Just to sign off on the weekend, we've just had another tweet in from our good friend Colin Basford, who's a regular listener to the show. He says, "Hey guys, not worried about last night. We have a CHL place to play for. Leaf Steelers with the Mickey Mouse Cup." And then lots of laughing emojis, so I think that's very much tongue-in-cheek from Colin there. Thanks for getting in touch. Okay, the Nottingham Lions played their second match of the season last night at the NIC, losing 5-3 to the Hull Pirates in a very close-fought game. Former Panther Mark Levers earned the man of the match after getting 1+2, so I had a hand in all the Lions' goals. I was there. It was a very, very good, well-fought game. Hull, one of the favourites to take NIHL Moral League Conference, and you know, Lions gave them one hell of a game. If you want to go and see the Nottingham Lions, they are in action next Sunday at the NIC against the Solway Sharks, so another big team in that league coming down to the NIC. There is a 6 p.m. face-off, so not the usual 7:30, it is 6 p.m. this week. All the usual ticket offers are in place, including 2 kids go free with every full paying adult. So get yourselves down to the NIC if you are not going to Cardiff on Sunday.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I like how you are just breezing over that. I was there, Jono.
Well,
you think we're letting that one go? You think we're letting that one go?
What? I was there. I was at the game. What more do you want?
You were
than
there.
that?
Yes, and you had quite an important part to play because you were the announcer, Steph, of the Nottingham Lions. On
I don't think Steph or Ken have anything to worry about whatsoever. But no, it was very enjoyable. Yes, even though I did make a couple of errors, but hopefully they weren't too noticeable.
Well, as long as you didn't swear or call anybody names.
No swearing, no inappropriate homophobic or misogynistic comments. So
yeah, I think you're good. You're good.
But did you wind Jason Hewitt up by constantly calling him Chewit?
No, I didn't. In fact, I interviewed him for the Lions
Scooby
website.
will be very disappointed in you, Jono.
I interviewed him. I've never spoken to him before. What a lovely bloke. He really is a genuinely very, very, very nice guy.
And how much do you hate that, Jono?
Wow, it's exactly the same as when I met Ryan Finnerty, and he just thought, how can I hate someone who's such a nice guy? So yes, it's another one where you should never meet the people you hate because they end up being really, really nice people, and you feel really bad. So, but no, he is a very nice guy. Jason Hewitt gave me a very good interview. If you go to the Nottingham Lions Twitter page, you will be able to hear that interview and also an interview with man of the match Mark Levers as well. Okay, we'll move on to the Elite League weekend results, and it was a bit of a goal fest around the Elite League this week. On Saturday, Challenge Cup games, Manchester 3, Sheffield 6 in Altrincham, Cardiff 5 and Milton Keynes 2 at Ice Arena Wales, and in the Elite League, Belfast 6, Guildford 4. On Sunday, your Challenge Cup, Guildford 8, Cardiff 4 in the Challenge Cup. What a result that was. Another great result in the Elite League. Milton Keynes Lightning 6, Belfast 3 in their first home Elite League game. And finally, at the Sky Dome, it was Coventry 1, Manchester 4. So, guys, a lot to talk about there. Plenty of goals around, but probably the biggest incident, Jim van der Meer of Belfast being given a match penalty for slashing in Milton Keynes. No footage at the time of coming in, or sort of coming on air. So, that's going to be a big loss for Belfast because he's one of their important players.
Definitely. Obviously, I've not seen it. To be brutally honest, it's the first I've heard about it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, that makes 3.
If he's got a match penalty, then that's an automatic 1-game ban at least to get reviewed. Is that correct?
It is an automatic 1-game ban, yeah, and it will get reviewed. And it was for slashing. It's slashing as well, which is very unusual to get a match penalty for slashing. So it must have been one. It must have been a proper lumberjack job.
Yeah, which is
Kelsey, is it one of those Kelsey Wilson would have been proud jobs?
Wow. That's the sort of worry, isn't it? Is that obviously it's going to be, if it's a slashing match penalty, there's a fair chance it's going to carry more than 1 game. So, like you say, it's a big loss for Belfast because obviously he is one of their. He's one of their go-to guys on defence.
Yeah, so 2 good wins for the league new boys as well on Sunday night. I mean, 8-4, Guildford 8, Cardiff 4. That was a surprise. Yeah,
absolutely.
And Cardiff had their backup in as well, I believe.
Yeah, but you see, I don't think this can be used as an excuse anymore because there's a good standard of backups in the Elite League these days. We saw Murdy started in that pre-season game in Nottingham. He had an absolute belter. So I'm not going to go with the fact that it was because Murdy was starting in net. Not in the slightest. I think it's a great result for Guildford, and they've shown that they can compete at this level, as have Milton Keynes. They're certainly not new boys who've come in to make up the numbers. They've come in to compete, and long may that continue.
Yeah, I would say so. Murdy's a good quality netminder, so Cardiff have done well there.
Definitely.
No, it's good to see Guildford and MK, show a sign of intent there, and it's impressive. I mean, you look at Milton Keynes' result against Belfast, and Belfast are always going to be there and thereabouts, aren't they? Every season, they're a top end team. So I think that Milton Keynes can be really, really pleased with their efforts there. To turn Belfast over in the first Elite League game of the season, and Guildford have. I don't really know too much about the roster that Guildford have put together. I mean, obviously they've got Brian Stewart, who's a slightly eccentric character, and but he's good enough to win a team a game. Stands on his head and he performs well on any given night. So, with a decent netminder like Stewart, and you've got players like Ben Davis, haven't they? Who I've always thought was a really good playmaker, good young Brit. Well, I suspect he's probably not that young now. He's probably in his late 20s, but he's a quality Brit, and I wish Guildford and Milton Keynes all the best for the coming season.
Except on
Saturday night, yeah. Always add that caveat. One interesting thing I did see today was that Josh Batch tweeted to the Cardiff fans who made the trip apologising for the performance, and I thought, classy move, Mr. Batch. I thought that was.
Yeah.
Did he get a nice time this week?
I assume he did. I assume he did, indeed.
Well, until we get the resources to accurately record time on ice, then we'll never know.
And final news this week: the Scottish Cup took place up in Murrayfield. Braehead won with a trophy that looked remarkably like the FA Cup in the pictures, and they released a T-shirt and hoodie set already with Scottish champions on, so well done to them.
Anybody know what the attendance was like? Genuine question.
I believe from what I saw on Twitter, it wasn't brilliant on Saturday, but was a lot better yesterday. From what I could pick up on Twitter, but it's one of those things. It's the first season. It'll probably become an annual trophy, annual tournament, and I suppose from little acorns, big oaks grow.
Yeah, I really do hope it catches on in Scotland. And however, I'd hope that they play it a bit earlier and actually do their league games and the Challenge Cup games when everybody else is.
Yeah.
Yes, it wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if everybody started the league season at the same sort of time? We've got a few weeks yet before some teams hit their first league games, which just I don't know. Maybe it's just me that gets a bit irked by that. One thing. Go on.
Go.
Well, no, sorry. I was just going to go off on not on a tangent as such, but from what I understand, I think the poor timekeepers and penalty keepers had a bit of it, sort of like 3 extra sheets of paper just to record all the penalties, from what I understand.
Yes, it did look a bit feisty, the final, to say the least. There was a few penalties being chucked about. I think 200 minutes of penalties in total in a final, which is some going. It really is. Just to come back to the Sheffield game, we've had a tweet from Jonathan Fernie, who is, of course, the commentator on Steelers Live TV. He says, if playing gospel was definitely the right move, why no ice time for Tetlow until the 3rd? Why not call up Hazeldine and Kelsall? Well, Hazeldine and Kelsall were playing for Swindon, where they would get guaranteed ice time. Tetlow, I don't believe Bracknell was playing, so that's why Tetlow was on the bench. But I think it's very, very, personally speaking, I think it's very different. Netminder, very, very different position to defenceman. And I suppose it's one of those questions that you'd need to ask Corey Nielsen. He's the coach, so he will decide who gets what ice time and when. I like Tetlow. I think he's a great player, but I think in that situation, would it have been right to put him in? Maybe put him in for a couple of shifts when we were 3-0 up. I don't know, but it's all down to Nielsen.
Following he did get some ice time, because I think Gagnon took a bit of a a niggle or a knock somewhere along the way. So Tetlow did spot in for a couple of shifts in the third period. I don't think he got a lot of time, but I definitely heard that he was out there. I mean, I want to say that I didn't really notice him, but you can't help but notice him because he's so frigging tall. but from what I understand, he was out there for a couple of shifts, didn't do himself any disservice, and he wasn't on the ice when any of the Steelers' goals were scored, so he did all right there. Just one thing, just to sort of back up your point there, John. Also, Gospel has been getting regular minutes. Whatever league he's been playing in, he has been getting regular minutes at a senior level. Tetlow hasn't yet.
Tetlow's 19 years old, and I think it was only his first pro season last season. So
and as you say, Kelsall and Hazeltine were playing for another team, and they're getting their guaranteed minutes. At a more senior level to what they've been playing, and I think Gospel is more of a proven entity than Tetlow is. One thing Corey Nielsen does very, very well, and I will probably bang on about this until I've forgotten who he is in like 20, 30, 40 years time. But one thing that he does very well, he works very well with the juniors. He works very well. He gets them in at good times. I know I've criticised him in the past for certain decisions that he's made, but generally speaking, Corey Nielsen does do good work with the kids.
Fair enough. Anybody else want to come in on what Jonathan said in his tweet?
No, I think you both made good points. I think there's a world of difference between the experience level that Tetlow's got and what Gospel's got. I think Gospel's played in some really big games before, and not done himself any harm whatsoever, and put incredible performances. But
don't Tetlow, we know it?
Yeah, I know we've been on the wrong end of them as well. But Tetlow is making his way in the game, isn't he? He's a youngster, he's 19. Nielsen will find the right times and the right situations to, get him some ice time and, give shifts and, keep him hungry, really. Because, that's the thing, these young kids have to earn their ice time. They shouldn't just be given it unconditionally because, it's probably not going to do their development or their career progression much good. I think they need to be ready whenever they're called upon by Nielsen. And, when they do get the shifts, as you said, Tina, he wasn't scored on in his couple of shifts. So that's a bonus. So that will give him a bit of confidence. And maybe on Saturday night, if we're ahead by 3 or 4 goals against Guildford going into the third period, we might see a little bit more of him. And it's just about drip feeding that experience of playing in front of big crowds, and getting him ready for that sort of that environment. But I think there is a vast difference between calling on Gospel and calling on Tetlow.
Just be careful what you say about going 3 or 4 goals ahead against Guildford. just have a look at that score from last night again.
I know.
And Andy, we've not heard from you for a while. Are you still there? I did say what are your thoughts on that?
Well, ultimately, as has been said, I suppose it is completely down to Corey. That being said, I wouldn't have been unhappy if he was getting a regular shift. I think realistically, it's the type of game where you can allow it, a regular shift. But the issue that we have at the moment is obviously we're playing without Wiesbar. And obviously we're trying to get things settled for the season, so I can understand the reasons not to. But by the same token, if he was played for 17, 18 minutes a night, I wouldn't overly have an issue with that. From what I've seen, he looks very capable. And obviously, Sunday's game was Challenge Cup. It was a first taste of Panthers Steelers for most of the players. I don't think it'd have been necessarily a bad thing if he did play. So I can kind of see the point was made. but ultimately, it will always be down to realistically the person who is employed to know best ultimately. And as Tina said, to be fair with all the people that have moaned about his coaching style or his things like that, but you can't. There's literally nothing bad you can say about his treatment and his development of the British players in the British game. You've only got to look at the things that he did that seemed crazy at the time that have worked.
Moving Mark Richardson into defence.
Yeah, Mark Richardson in defence will always be the standard. The one that's always looked back on as being such a fantastic success. He spent his career and juniors and that playing forward, and he spends a season here with us, and Corey thinks, you know what, I think you might have a better career playing defence, and look how that's turned out. He's not bad, is he?
he's not bad at all, that lad. No, I think that's a very good point. Just while we've been talking about under 23 players, Jordan Kelsall, Josh Tetlow and Joe Hazeldine will all be featured on some junior hockey on Premier Sports this week, starting on Wednesday, as all the tournaments that took place in the summer will be shown, all the highlights from those will be shown on Premier Sports. Starting Wednesday, we've got the Rob Laidler Plate, which was for under 18s. There's also the under 20 nationals finals, the England-Scotland International, the EIHA Conference finals and the EIHA Junior finals. You'll see plenty of Jordan Kelsall, Josh Tetlow, Joe Hazeldine and a lot of young talent that is bubbling under the surface here in Great Britain. Well worth watching. Some absolutely belting games there was over the summer, so tune into Premier Sports to watch those if you can. Another little bit. Sorry, go on, Andy.
Only if you've got a mute button, though, right?
Yeah. Well, it's all right when Dowsy's commentating, but the other guy, not so much. Right. We'll move on. The EIHL announced that some referee courses will be taking place around the country over the season. There will be a course in Nottingham on the 22nd of October. It will cost £115, and it will include registration and insurance for the rest of this season. It's a level 1 course, and all details are on the Ice Hockey UK website if you're interested in that. So, any one of us up for becoming a referee?
Got to be joking, unless it includes how to skate not look like a complete idiot course as well.
But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's been a big push by Ice Hockey UK to get more officials into the game. Joy Johnson is heading it up, and one of the best referees in the country. She refereed, of course, the Olympic women's final in 2016, I think it was. So, it's being taken seriously. They've obviously seen that we need more officials, and we're trying to get some more on board. And all these people who are a bit mouthy in the stands week in, week out, if you can skate, why not get on there? Why not volunteer? Why not get learning, become a referee? Anybody?
Well, I mean, I was just going to make a general point actually about officiating and referees, and it might not just be unique to ice hockey, but I don't know why we don't try and get more sort of like ex-players or players that are coming to the end of their careers to take up officiating and go into refereeing, because they've played the game, so they've got a unique advantage in understanding the game and how it flows, and what to look out for and that sort of thing. So it's a bit of an indirect comment in response to the question, but I think that maybe there could be a bit more work done in that regard to try and keep the experience in ice hockey and not let it go. When a player retires, try and bring them through and fast track to maybe being a referee.
But there needs to be some sort of carrot for that, though, because obviously the natural course is for them to want to go into coaching. I think there's a genuine case for, like you say, there being some sort of incentive, some sort of like I say, some sort of carrot for becoming an official rather than becoming a coach. But you've got to think that realistically, it's not as glamorous a job. It's certainly probably, is it as rewarding? It probably is rewarding a job as being a successful coach in a league or whatever. But there's got to be some people that would be interested. There's got to be some people that would do it. There's going to be some people that say, I'm not doing it because I was the player that was always whining and moaning, and I don't know how anyone could do it. There's a lot of players that know firsthand just how much stick the referees come under. So it's one of them things. It would be great to see, but I do think that there's too much opportunity elsewhere after the game. That basically you're not going to see great swathes of ex-pros or former players, taking on that mantle.
And you was going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to make a half comment about the only issue with former players taking it up is then you get the whole, he's always biased against us because we stuck 10 past him in Murrayfield, referring to a former referee, of course. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand why more ex-players aren't given that chance. Certainly the British players over here. But like Andy said, it's coaching's the next natural step, and at the bottom line is it's money.
I mean, one thing I would always recommend. I got the EIHL rulebook downloaded into my phone, and it's a PDF download. I would highly recommend any hockey fan doing it because it does open your eyes a bit, because you have at your fingertips the rules, and you can learn a lot. It's really, really helped my education in hockey on the rules side of things. So I would highly recommend anybody do that. You can do it. It's for free. It doesn't cost anything. It's on the EIHL website. So get over and do that. Okay, we're going to finish off by quickly looking ahead to the weekend games. On Saturday, Panthers take on the Guildford Flames in the Elite League at the NIC with a 7 PM face-off, and then Sunday travel to Ice Arena, Wales to face the Cardiff Devils, another Elite League game with a 6 PM face-off. So, Ant, how do you think this weekend's going to go?
It's going to be a tough weekend. I think based on Guildford's 2 games so far, they give Giants a really good go on Saturday, and then obviously gave the Devils a proper showing on Sunday. So I think, we all predicted that.
Ian Watters, the danger man, hat-trick on Sunday, also got Elite League Player of the Week.
Player of the Week, yeah, I saw that. So, yeah, we again, it's another game we can't take anybody lightly in this league. So give it as a all, and then see what we've got left for an always difficult trip on Sunday down to Cardiff.
But maybe not as difficult as when it was the Big Blue Tent. I think we have a better record in Ice Arena, Wales, than what we did at the Tent. I did sort of gather up a few little nuggets of information. Our last 20 games with Cardiff, both home and away, in all competitions, is 9 wins, 8 losses, 2 overtime losses, and a shootout loss. I haven't got anything sort of to hand prior to the end of 2015, but I suspect it would read a lot worse.
I don't know, we played them in a few finals then.
Yeah, there is that.
I mean, ultimately, looking ahead to the weekend, I think, like it's been said, I think Saturday has the potential to be a really good game, and a really interesting one. Obviously, it's a lot of, it will be a lot of people's first ever look at Guildford. I was lucky enough that I've seen them before when we had the crossover cup, I think it was called. a fair few years ago now. But this will be, some people will be their very first chance to, have seen Guildford ever. So it's going to be fun. I imagine it'll be a decent game. They've obviously got some very good players, as mentioned. And I just think we've got to be on our game because as proved in their performances this weekend, they're not going to be pushovers.
No, not at all. Who's left? Adam?
I think other people have made really good points about not taking Guildford too lightly. They can obviously score goals, so they've got offensive threat there. We've got offensive threat, so it's probably going to end 2-1. And everyone will expect a goal fest, and that won't be how it turns out. So, but we'll see what happens. And it'd be nice to see those sorts of games where both teams just go hell for leather at each other, and the scorelines end up being not too dissimilar from what we saw yesterday with the Challenge Cup game in Sheffield. And the fighting Cardiff. Well, I'm sure Cardiff would have been stung quite badly by what happened to them in Guildford yesterday. I don't know who Cardiff are playing on Saturday, but I would imagine that their coach might want them to right a few wrongs and certainly put in a good pair of weekend performances to show their fans that they're going to put up a fairly strong defence of their league title. So I can see, like others have said, it being two very strong games, two hard games for the Panthers at the weekend, and I think we'll probably beat Guildford. I'm not so sure about Cardiff. I don't know whether I'd be happy with taking like an overtime defeat or a penalty defeat or something like that. I think as long as we could take a point out of there, that's okay.
Okay. Fair enough. We are just about to end the show, but that's not before reminding you that on Wednesday we have Ask TCW once again, so get your questions in and we will have a guest in Premier Sports commentator Aaron Murphy. So anything about broadcasting the CHL, current ice hockey on TV, anything like that, get your questions in. Murph will be here at 8:45pm on Wednesday. To get your questions in, you can do so via Twitter at CatsWhiskersTV. Use the hashtag AskTCW. We've got the thread on the Cage Forum. Email is tcwonlinetv@gmail.com, and then there's also the various Panthers groups and the TCW Facebook page. So get your questions in for Murph on Wednesday. We are very much looking forward to that one. But it's now time to end the show. Thank you very much once again for listening, and thanks for getting in touch on Twitter as you have done throughout the night. We really do appreciate hearing from you, and it's just left for me to say thank you very much to Tina Taylor,
GCFM,
Adam Reddish,
thanks everyone,
Antoine Marie-Jeanne,
adios,
and finally Andy Haywood.
Good night.
And thank you very much, and we will see you on Wednesday. But until then, good night.